You need to be on a path. We need to define for ourselves what this path that we're on is. And I know it's hard at the outset when you're young in life to know what is my path? What am I supposed to do my entire life? I get it. Okay, I have episodes on how to choose what that path is. One way that I use in my life was to think about what is the coolest thing that I can picture anybody doing. Not even what my 17-year-old self could picture myself doing, but what could I picture the coolest thing of somebody to do? And as I have thought about this idea, it is kind of taking it outside of yourself and thinking about what's cool in the world, and maybe there's some ego involved there. So that's honestly in work. That's kind of, I'm workshopping that idea. But I think there's something really key to the essence there of picking something that you want to aspire to. And not only thinking in the next 5 years or even 10 years, but your whole life. I think of it as a cruise ship, a giant ship, and I'm a passenger on this ship, and I set my course in a direction. Now, why is this metaphor useful? Because a giant cruise ship does not go make a 90-degree turn whenever they want. One day they feel like it, and then we turn. No. The ship has to be put on the path so that it can follow and gently curve towards that direction that you want. And that is the utility. And our life is like that entire direction of the path that we're on. And we got to set its course. We got to think critically and set its course, or else what's going to happen? Think about if you set a ship's out at sea. Girl, I don't know much about ships, so. But what I can imagine is that it's just going to be floating around there. And in what direction is going to go? It's probably not going to make some kind of worthy stop and find some island along the way. It's just going to be floundering around in the ocean, or it's not going to be moving at all, right? Like if we're not putting energy into getting the ship moving, getting our life moving, right? And so the utility of being on a path is that it gives us the next step. And there's a Rumi quote that I'm about to pull up for you guys. All right, the quote is, as you start to walk on the way, the path appears. Okay, how? How does the path magically appear when we're on our way? You might be thinking. Well, this is why self-reflection is critical about the path that we're on, because there is absolutely no use in being on a path on autopilot. This is not a cruise control cruise ship, okay? We have our foot on the gas. We have our foot on the steering wheel. We are the operators of this ship, of this machine, whatever example you want to use. We are in the driver's seat, is the point. We reflect on the path that we're on. We choose a path. We start to go down it. And as Rumi says, as you start to walk on the way, the way appears. You might think when you're 17, 18, or even older, even if you're 22, 23, and you're like, what am I supposed to do? Even now, I'm 26. I'm having the same thoughts. I don't think this is something that ever ends. I don't think this is something that this question of, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? I think it's important to keep asking ourselves that. And also, it's okay if you keep asking yourself that at 26, even when you see other people who have seemed to find their path. It's okay. We all have our own way that we get on there and cool things along the way. Even if you take a detour, it's still part of your journey. So now, the way that we can concretely evaluate if the path that we're on is the right one for us, I use this framework for being able to reflect on what is the next move that I should make. Do I like the place that I'm at now? Because like I said, being on a path and being on autopilot does nobody good. Because if we live without defining the next step for ourselves, well, life is going to naturally impose a certain series of steps for us. If you don't power your ship and steer your ship in one direction, the wind is going to take you in the direction that it wants. Now, that's not necessarily a bad reality. Like if we do the typical life of, go to middle school, high school, graduate at a normal time, go get a 4-year degree, and then go get a full-time job, have a kid, go to soccer practice, go to Target for groceries on the weekend, come back, live your whole life, and then have grandkids and die. That's not a bad life. That's really not a bad life. And that's honestly a pretty blessed life that we can live if we have those kind of privileges that allow us to live that kind of comfortable life. If you're listening to Pursuit the Pod, we go after things that are kind of outside those bounds. I want to take the space to recognize that it is such a privilege and such a blessing that we need to be grateful of, that we have the opportunity to go out and pursue all of these things and to build up people around us that don't have the same opportunities, and use the resources that we acquire through our pursuits, our money, our time, to lift up other people. That's really important. So really important. I want to say that. Now, if you're listening to Pursuit the Pod, we are doing more than going to soccer practice and the grocery store on the weekends. Okay? We are thinking critically about what is going to give us meaning in life. We're thinking about purpose. We're thinking about happiness. We're thinking about what are we doing? What is the purpose of every day that we're on? How can we make the most impact in a positive way in the world? How do we leave something behind that's that leaves that serves humanity in some way? And for that is to be on this path that calls you, that gives you purpose. Now, a lot of times we are chasing this goal. We have thought, okay, I think this is how I can make a difference to humanity. This is what my purpose is. This is what my calling is. But sometimes we're like, is it? Like, is it? Is this really what is called inside of me? Like, maybe you have this idea of what purpose and fulfillment feels like, but am I living it practically right now? And that's what we're going to talk about is how to reflect on if this current path that you're on is serving you, and especially in the times when the path is hard, like especially when there's a part where you're down in the dumps. And it's this framework for positivity that you can apply not only to career type pursuits, but honestly, it is so powerful that I have used this kind of thinking both with my personal struggles and when evaluating relationships. It's really, you can use at my best, at my worst, whenever you're evaluating some kind of pursuit in your life that happens on a time scale that's on the order of years. Because I want you to stop wasting your time, and I want you to stop living on autopilot. I want you to stop living like somebody is going to come in and make the right decision for you. Once you get to an age where you are supporting yourself, it's on you. It's on you. And I am going to give you this tool to help you evaluate what path that you're on. So I want you to use this, especially when you're struggling, when you are overwhelmed, when you're thinking, I don't know if I can keep doing this. I don't know if I should keep doing this. Not even like, do I want to, do I not want to, but should I keep doing this? Should I stay in this relationship? That's what this can be used for. And this is what I literally use all the time in my head, at my best and at my worst. So Think about, let's take the career example, because that's where I've been thinking about this most. Let's say you're doing a job, or you're doing multiple jobs, and you're like, man, this is boring. This is boring, or this is overwhelming. I am working so many hours. I am on the edge of crashing out. I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't know if I should be doing this. I'm disinterested. I'm disconnected from people, from myself. I don't find the work interesting. It's way too hard. I don't know what the next step is. All right, have you ever felt like this? In school, in career? I know I have felt this way in college when I'm like, what? This is so hard. There are so many assignments. I am so overwhelmed. I have a physics exam next week. I have 3 math homeworks due tomorrow, and I'm late for my essay that was due last week, and now I'm only going to get 50% from my resubmittal. All right, it's overwhelming. Or you're at work and you're like, man, I make this good salary. I did everything I was supposed to do. I got this degree. I'm working here. I'm supposed to be happy. And yet I'm bored. And I'm like, I don't know if this is for me. I was on this path and I was so gung-ho about this path, and now I'm sitting here and I can't work this 9 to 5 like this. Okay, have you felt like that? Have you ever felt like that? Or let's stick with those two. So right now you're at your worst. Guess what? You're at your worst. And that's honestly where I think this framework is a great place to start. It's the most useful when we feel the worst. Now, I want you to remember, in this moment, I want you to remember one key thing: that life is a sine wave. What's down will come up, what's up will come down. Time and time again, I have been in the dumps. I have thought every single thing I just said there, I have thought myself, and I consider myself one of the happiest, genuinely happiest people in the world. Not because my life is void of struggles and being down in the dumps and the worst parts of all of these things, not in spite of that, but with that, because I observed this pattern where when things were down, they would come back up again. And that's how I started developing this framework of at my worst and at my best. And I found myself at my worst. It was useful to ask, okay, I know that this isn't all bad. I know that this job isn't all bad. I know that this schooling isn't all bad. What, at my best, how do I feel? Even if I don't feel it right now, what does it feel like when it is at its best? And the key about reflecting on is twofold. 1, it shows you what your values are. And 2, oh man, I just lost my train of thought. Oh man. 2, helps you, your values, and it helps you hold space. It helps you hold space for the negative parts. As somebody who has had a tendency in the past to want to just ignore the bad parts and just pretend they don't exist, and like, oh no, if I don't admit that this is really hard, then it won't be hard. No, that's not how it works. I've tried, been there, done that. Let me save you some repression of your emotions. It gives you space. So let's start with that one. It gives you space to hold space for that downside, for that bad side. It's okay. It's okay to acknowledge that sometimes your job is boring. Sometimes it's okay to acknowledge that you hate this class. You're taking propulsion and you're like, I don't care if this is an air-breathing engine. I just want to be propelled off of this cliff because I have to do this homework. That's okay. I've been there. And hold space for it. It's okay. Because what is it? It's data. It is qualitative data that you don't like what you're doing. And sometimes it is easier to know what you don't like than what you do like. Honestly, when you're choosing a major, when you're choosing the next step, it is sometimes easier to start from a place of, I know that I do not like this topic. I do not like propulsion. It bores me. It's cool. Now that I'm older, I can appreciate it more. But in the time, oh my God, I don't care. That's data. Sometimes we got to grit our teeth and we got to get through those times, which we can talk about on another episode of how to get through things that you don't care about along the way when they add up to, the culmination of what you want. We can talk about that. But for the purposes here, hold space for it. Now, second part is it shows you what you value. So let's take the college example. We'll stick with that. So at my best, I'm taking space biology and medicine. I've got fun plans on Thursday and Saturday. It's a beautiful fall day. I got all my homework done. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling productive. And I just got 98% on my linear algebra exam. That would be a pretty dang good day. I'm going to a football game on Saturday, and I just did well on my exams, and I don't have an exam next week. Now, there's some things that are outside of our control, right? With that, like we can't always control when we have an exam. We can't control when there's going to be fun plans, right? But think about it. Even then, there are things that we can control. We can control doing our work early so that we have time to slowly go through content and really understand it. We have agency in the classes that we choose to take. Some of that is out of our control because we can't always choose what's offered, but think about it. What does it show that I value? In what I just described there, it shows what topics I value. It shows that I like this space medicine stuff, that was the class that I most enjoyed in undergrad. So when I'm thinking about my next pursuit, I'm like, okay, I think I'm going to take a step in that direction. And that's how I was able to take that next step. I was taking so many classes that I did not care about. Controls and I don't know what else, like mechanics of materials and stuff that I just don't care about. But because I was on this path that I defined for myself of being an astronaut, I encountered things along the way that helped me form my path. But the thing is, guys, if I hadn't been on this path to start with, I would not have discovered this class, this space biology and medicine class that was it was the only class in undergrad that was in this topic, but that allowed me to see that this was a topic that I could formally study, and then I could do my whole master's degree in it. And I'm not coming to you as somebody who has all of this figured out. I'm telling you this because these are things that I need to remind myself every single day of, like, even when it seems like you have etched out a pretty good path for yourself, I'm always thinking about, okay, is this really what I want? Is this really what's going to fulfill me? So I'm always thinking about this too. I'm using this just as much as I'm transmitting it to you. And I think that's why it's so helpful, because I want to share things with you guys that I actually use and I actually think about. So you can also apply it to your job. So when I think that something I'm doing is boring, I'm like, okay, I know that this isn't all bad. Like, I know I've had really good days at work and really good times at work. And what compounded to that? Well, it was doing the parabolic flight testing. It was working in the back rooms of mission control. It was going out to lunch with my team. It was feeling connected to my friends at work. It was solving a really hard problem. Oh my gosh, we had this one part this last month that was just so difficult to prove that it was acceptable. Oh man, you guys, I wish I could tell you more details, but I gotta leave it at that. And the day that we figured out and I documented what the path was that we were gonna take was a super fulfilling day. So just in that, think about it. What are my values that I just described in there? One is productivity, being useful, solving things. That's one thing. Two, connections to people, having a good time with my coworkers, going to lunch, like doing something fun, connecting with them. So two is people. Three is novel experiences. Some of my best days are when I got to do, this sit in the back room of mission control and be the scribe and take notes about what's happening on the extravehicular activity. Those are cool. What are other good days? When I give a presentation to the interns and I'm talking to students, like, what does that show? That I really enjoy passing on my lessons to early careers engineers. So all of that it is data. And what do we say? If it can be measured, it can be managed. If you can measure along your pursuits what you like and what you don't like about it, it's going to help you take the next best step. Also, this framework is I think it's so powerful that it's not just in terms of our goals, but it's also in a personal struggle. So I have actually literally used at my best and at my worst thinking when I'm processing my struggles with food and body image. Like when it's 10 p.m., I'm in my bed crying because I ate an extra carrot. Like I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling so guilty. This is horrible. Why am I thinking like this? Why am I still struggling with this 2 years later? This is ridiculous. Anya, there's so many people that live without feeling guilty for what they eat. Why are you? Like you just spiral and you're like, this is horrible. It sucks. I've made no progress. And yeah, like I don't know what to do. So pause. I know it's hard. But think about at your best, what does this feel like? And at your worst. And it gives space for you feeling at your worst. It is okay to feel at your worst. Guess what? Anybody who has ever accomplished anything has felt at their absolute worst. And at the end of it, we do gain empathy. Like if you gain nothing else from this worst thing that you're struggling with, you do gain empathy for people going through a similar situation or similar thought patterns. And even at the least, even if it's not the same thing, you can translate that to them struggling with alcohol or them struggling with something else. Like you've struggled, and so you know what somebody else has gone through in terms of like the core feeling underneath. So give space for it's okay to feel at your worst. It's okay to be overwhelmed by these thoughts about these negative thoughts about food and body image. Now, at my best, what am I in this topic? I feel confident. I feel good about the quantity of food that I've eaten. I don't feel hungry. I don't feel shaky. I don't have a headache. I haven't deprived myself. But I also don't feel like I've overeaten. I feel like I've eaten in a way that my body wanted to, that I was fueled enough to do the things that I needed to do without overdoing it. And I feel beautiful. I feel beautiful in some way. And I feel confident. And so if anything, it just helps you to remember that there is that positive side, that you haven't always felt bad. Because it's so easy when we feel bad about something to think in this absolute black and white thinking, like, my job has been boring for the last week. My whole job sucks. I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't even know why I'm on this path. I'm just going to quit and become a gardener. And it also helps you prevent from being like, yeah, I'm just always struggling with this food and body image stuff. It never gets better. Like, this just sucks. It helps you remember that there is a good side to it. And we can do things. We can show. So in the case where I explained how I feel at my best, are there other ways that I can help myself feel confident and beautiful? Yes, I can have my nails done. I can put on an outfit that I like. I can do my hair. I can make sure my hair is nice and sleek in my sleek back ponytail with my braid for my EMT shift. Like, I can do those things that give me confidence in a way that's outside of my food and body image if I happen to be struggling that day. And in that way, it gives me a couple percentages. I think of like percent happiness, like percentage happiness points, that maybe it would have been 100% if I was also feeling good about my body, but I'm not. So I don't have that chunk, but I can supplement it in other ways. You see what I'm saying here? And how do you know whether this quote worst part is worth enduring? Is this path bringing you closer to your goal? That's what you ask yourself. If the answer is yes, you keep doing it. If not, you stop doing it. Because then you're miserable and it's not helping you on your path and you're like, why are you doing this? But when I'm trying to make a decision about if I want to continue, for example, working 2 jobs, or if I want to continue being an engineer or transition into medicine full time or something, I'm like, okay, what is my goal here? And I'm not at the point to switch everything and go to med school and become a doctor, even though I'm interested in medicine. I did consider that. But when I weighed the pros and cons, I'm like, no, what will get me closer to my goal is being an engineer and sticking with that. And that's a whole other topic we could get into. But the point is this helping me get closer to my career? And is this, or not my career, my goal? And is this worst part of the pursuit that I'm on temporary? Is it a really intense work project that is going to turn up the dial on life for 3 weeks and then it will go back to being a little bit more balanced? Or is this a constant suffering that I'm living in with no purpose? Like, suffering for no purpose, I don't know that I can get behind that. Suffering for a cause worth suffering for, now that I can get behind. So we're all going to need to endure a little bit of suffering on our path. There's no getting around that. But you got to think critically about, is this a cause worth suffering for? At my best and at my worst. Give space for both. And then use the values that you identify from the best parts to help make your next step. So when I think about the kind of jobs that I'm going to continue to have, it's going to be something where maybe it's more dynamic. It's more of an operational environment where I'm testing either myself or I'm testing other people, or I'm working with my hands a little bit more. But then I also love the cognitive side of just like sitting and grinding on some math problems. Like, there's also that side that feeds me too, and just locking away and doing that. Like, I don't think I could do a job that was 100% around people all the time, like being an EMT all the time. I'm just not wired like that. I love that for a portion, but then I like to go back to my little hole and working on my little analyses. So when I think about the next kind of jobs I'm going to have, I'm like, okay, those are my values. I love being around people. I'm a talker, clearly. I talk to you here every single Tuesday. But I also value just like the really cognitive side. So see, this is how I think about it. This is literally how I think about how I shape my next pursuit. I reflect. I'm reflecting. It's like I said at the beginning, it is not useful to be on an autopilot path. Sure, our caregivers and our parents can set us up on a great path and, set our plane on an automated flight path, but at some point we got to take agency and ask, where is this path going? And does it align with what my goal is? Define that goal for yourself, that long-term goal. Does this path that I'm on and these baby steps that I'm taking bring me closer to that? And do I feel aligned with it too? At my best, what does this feel like? At my worst, is this a deal breaker? Is this a deal breaker where I do not, this path is no longer serving me if you're constantly living in that worst state? And are there things that we can even do to help mitigate some of those worst parts? Like, if you're kind of doing your own work and you're feeling deprived of connection, can you go to a coffee shop and give those things to yourself? Can you seek out opportunities that minimize those worst parts of the day of whatever pursuit is and make it better? Even this is something I would do when I had 1,000,002 assignments and it was just so hard. I'd make the environment around me good, because sure, even though my work, like my homework, it was really hard to do, I could make it romantic. I could romanticize. This is why I think I have an episode about romanticizing it, but if not, I should have an episode about romanticizing your life and the grind, because girl, that is how I got through a lot of things, is romanticizing the heck out of it. I'm talking buy yourself roses and coffee and fairy lights and do your homework there. Because sometimes when the content in front of us, it is on the path to our goal, we need to do it. There are necessary struggles that we need to go through. But if you can make the environment around you at least pleasant, that's a way to get through some of the worst parts. And in relationships too, we can also think about, relationship is also like it's a really long pursuit. It's a really long path that we're on. And I've never experienced a relationship longer than 2.5 years, but I think about a long-term marriage, and I really think of that as a ship too. And same thing, at my best and at my worst. At my best, think about how you feel connected with your partner. At your best, what does that relationship look like for the two of you? Does it feel like you feel seen, that they understand the struggles that you're going through and they acknowledge them? They believe and they acknowledge them. Do you feel connected? Are you able to share the happy parts with them too? It's not just about being down in the dumps with somebody, but it's also like, do you share the good things in your life? And are they excited with you? Even if they don't fully understand it, like why you're doing this, are they excited with you because they see your excitement? And then at your worst, and are those things that happen at your worst, are those things quit worthy? This is something that Michelle Obama and Jay Shetty just talked about in their podcast. I'll link it below. And Michelle Obama talks about these things in a relationship that are quit worthy. And we all need to define for ourselves what those are. Abuse, certain kinds of infidelity, maybe it's overall negativity. Like there's fundamental things that are quit worthy. But some things, when we're at our worst, for example, for me, it's when I feel disconnected from my partner and I'm also annoyed at the little things that they do that I know are just like stupid little things, like they're making a noise or something. Like that's not quit worthy. Somebody making a noise is not reason to, it can like really anger us. Or like if here's a deeper one. If I'm being judgmental about some part of themselves, about some part of them, I'm being judgmental and they're having an issue and I'm like, dude, like why are you like that's not even an issue. Why are you struggling with that? Like I go through way worse. Like that kind of thinking, that's really unhealthy thinking in any kind of relationship, because what does it do? It lacks empathy. So when I catch myself at my worst, which is being judgmental of my partner and whatever they're going through, and I think it's trivial, being like, okay, no, take space to like, no, at my best, I feel connected. I am empathetic. I hear them out. I understand them. I seek to understand instead of judging. That's a key. And then bring it back to like, okay, does this relationship help me become more of who I want to be? It helps me become more, helps me be more aligned with my goals, or does it take me farther away from those? Am I constantly living in the worst state? Is there things that I can do to get out of the worst state? What are some more of the best things that I can do? So at my best and at my worst. At our best in a relationship, how are we? And at our worst, how are we as well? And giving space for both, and understanding that a good relationship does not always have to be at the best. In fact, reflecting on what the worst parts are is actually super important to not ignore those parts too. It's super important to not ignore the worst parts of our career, about our relationships, about our personal struggles. Because if we ignore that part of ourselves, there's an idea from Carl Jung that what we don't acknowledge goes into our subconscious and starts controlling us. So if you're a former repressor of emotions like me, I'm here to tell you that I'm sorry, girl, but if you repress them, they're just going to start controlling you subconsciously. So face them head on and ask yourself what you can do about it. If it's something that you could change or stay in and you're deciding whether or not to do it, ask, does this help me get to my goal? If it's yes, stick with it. If not, okay, it's time to pivot. And constantly be reflecting on this path that we're on, and have a path. The light and the way will come as you take the next step. And this is a framework for positivity around. And positivity, you guys, as I close this out, is not always happiness. I hope that has been clearly transmitted to you in this episode. Positivity is not happiness, it's moving forward. Positive. Think of a positive slope on the line of a graph. It's just pointed up. And honestly, you can have up and then down, up and then down, up and then down, but if the overall trajectory of the line is the slope is positive, mx plus b, the m is positive, like, you're doing good. You're doing good. You'll be okay. Okay. That's what I have for you guys this beautiful Tuesday. I'm so glad that you joined me today. And with that, I will surely see you on the next one. Bye.